right. You ready?
Sure.
Okay. So, I've seen all the Owl House episodes.
I've only seen bits and pieces from you
of what I've
watching
watched.
it just around.
What do you know about the show?
I know the voice actress of Beatrice Horseman is in it, and
Wendy Malick.
Katara.
And yes, Katara's and Alex Hirsch.
And that's about it. Doesn't Aaron Hansen do some background voices?
He does like background voices, but he doesn't do any like main characters.
That's the extent of my knowledge.
So you don't know any plot points?
I don't know any plot points.
Okay, so the first episode is called A Lying Witch and a Warden. Do you have any predictions?
Is it going to be a play on the Chronicles of Narnia?
Yes.
A Lion, a Witch, and a Wardrobe?
Exactly. It's exactly that plot, just condensed into 22 minutes.
Nailed it.
Some people actually didn't even notice that was like a pun.
It's a nice play on words. I don't think I would have particularly noticed unless you're like, take a guess. And I'm like, oh, I guess that sounds like this other thing I know.
Yeah, a lot of them do that with like puns or play on words of like other titles and stuff like that. So, alright, so no guesses going in?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Now eat this, sucker!
No! My only weakness! Dying!
So you can already see Alex.
And that's the end.
Yes.
Oh, happy dagger, give me death!
I love Luz, by the way.
Okay. Oh my god, she's my hair.
Take a look at this.
Oh, I hate when people do that. Oh my god. It's just
But like
as
everybody
bad.
knows that kid from their school years of like, oh yeah, that kid who did that.
How old is she?
But I
I
don't
believe
like
she's
any
14.
of that stuff. I like
I know
editing
how to
anime
balance a
clips to
checkbook when I
music
was
and
14.
reading fantasy books with convoluted backstories.
The end.
I like that.
Wait, what did you like?
The like how her familiar, she just kind of scrolls on top of her staff. Scrolls. Screws. There it is.
If you also look in the background, they just have a lot of really great names for like stands.
Okay.
Busted!
Oh, there was that a dipper stand in the background.
For misuse.
Whoops. Can't forget this.
Relax plushie.
I think that shop next door is just bags.
Well, there's also just skulls. But they have like Ask Me Anything and like fangs and things and stuff like that.
Very cute.
And like arms and armory and stuff. It's just very creative.
Tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
Ow! Hoot!
It's another Alex Hirsch voice.
The Owl House.
Just roll credits.
Roll credits.
This.
You mean this little bundle of joy?
Are there no other humans in this realm?
They go into that a bit in the next episode.
Meow meow.
It's hideous. Oh, you'll fit right in.
Ida gives me like the fun, crazy aunt kind of vibes.
Yes.
The world is a simulation! We're but playthings for a higher being!
I have to tell you about that
Is
character.
it supposed to be Shane Dawson?
No, it's a self-caricature of Dana Terrace, who's the creator of the show, and is also voiced by her.
I can hear you.
I really like that character design.
This show has some of the best character designs I've seen.
It's both like a plague mask, but also reminded me of like BioShock Infinite, the bird.
My weak nerd arms!
Just get out of here while you still can, kid.
I was like she was able to lift up the gate,
I
no
know.
problem, but just this lever.
Is that a...
My crown! Ow! Oh, I hate it when that happens.
I like how they just call her the owl lady.
I found that alluring.
I hate everything you're saying right now. Expecto buying Nexus escape kit!
Yeah, you know, you have to get some Harry Potter references in here.
I won't let you get away again!
The show also has some really good animation. I believe the one who was in charge at least for the first season, was Spencer Wan, and he's working on Castlevania now.
Okay.
But he animated a lot of these scenes.
Very good. It's like Portal.
Kind of, yeah. You'll see later, like, they can do a lot of really crazy cool stuff.
Now eat this, sucker!
I like how she took that. She was gonna take that to her camp.
Is her name Luz, like shortened for Lucy, or is it like
L-U-Z.
Lewis? L-U-Z.
L-U-Z.
This shall suffice.
Still gets self-service.
I know. So cute. So cute.
First episode. Alright, so, first episode. I also have notes here.
Oh my goodness.
Just like for talking points. Okay. First impressions.
I think it's very cute.
You want to know the funny thing about it is that when this show was announced, since it's like about witchcraft and like demons and creatures, a lot of like religious groups were like, how could Disney do this to us? But it's like the most wholesome, cute, adorable thing ever.
I mean, Harry Potter got that same backlash from religious groups like that when it originally came out, where people were burning the books because they thought it was gonna, have people worship the devil and things like that. So that doesn't quite surprise me, but like it just, like, it's Disney. Like they're not gonna do anything controversial, like with a show like this.
Right.
I'm like, I don't know, just already off the bat, I get very like Gravity Fall-esque vibes.
Yes, that is like 100%. Like when people, like, I think the show's different enough to stand on its own.
Yeah.
And it differentiates itself. But I mean, like, in terms of like the comedy and like the world building and like characters and all that stuff, I see like a lot of parallels with that. So like if people ask like, oh, what's a show that's like most similar to the Owl House, I'd probably say Gravity Falls, but I think it like differentiates itself enough.
Absolutely. I just, from this first episode, it definitely feels like a TV show like Gravity Falls or Over the Garden Wall, even Avatar: The Last Airbender, because even though, especially I feel like American audiences typically associate animation with like, oh, like that's a kid's show then. But like then once you watch it, it's like, no, people of all ages enjoy it.
Oh yeah,
and, like
100%.
There's good stories there, like people our age and older, like who watched Avatar: The Last Airbender when it came out and like still call it one of
watching it now.
Exactly. Like that,
or people watching it for the first time.
And they call it one of the best TV shows.
I think it's
of
like in
all
the top
time.
10 on like IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's like the top 10 just overall.
And it's just like people need to give more shows that look like that, like Owl House and things like that, more of a chance.
100%. I think if you have like a good story and characters and like world building, like I think you'll be set no matter like what the medium you're going through, is. But yeah, no, animation, like, I mean, in Japan, like, anime is everything.
Yeah.
So they're far more accepting and open-minded to things with animation. But like here, unless it's like on like Adult Swim or something like that, or it's like specifically geared towards adults, like a lot of people like our age don't watch it. Which is sad because there's a lot of really good stories
That people
out
are
there
missing out on.
that people are missing out on. But yes, very, very Gravity Falls-esque, I feel, in terms of like atmosphere and vibes and stuff like that. Characters. Luz. Main character. Main protag.
Very quirky. Very just adorable.
I love her so much. When, like, I've seen Star Wars The Forces of Evil. I know you haven't seen that show yet. But, like, the main character with that show was very, like, hyperactive to the point where just, like, it kind of, like, put me off a little bit. Not that I, like, hated her or anything like that, but just that immediate connection wasn't there. Kind of similar to, like, Mabel kind of a thing.
Yes.
Where, like, very
silly.
Hyperactive, and I feel that Luz is a bit more of a realistic interpretation of kind of that, and that she's just very like nerdy and quirky and just kind of like does her own thing. But yeah, like I feel like a lot of people, like especially like you and I, we have very similar interests, could relate a lot to Luz and probably could have used a character like Luz earlier in our lives, like when watching cartoons.
Especially the fact that like there's a young like female girl, and not to mention that like I'm pretty sure like she's Hispanic based on how her mother talks to her, which is just, it's nice to just have not a stereotypical just like white kid as the protagonist of a show.
The other thing is that they don't use it as like,
oh, she's the Hispanic like main character.
It's not like the token minority kind of thing. It's just like a part of her character kind of a thing.
Like, and just like especially with that, like we did grow up very nerdy. Like we have books. Like I have like the Hyrule Historia, and just being like when I was a kid, like we were fully into that, and you didn't really see that represented. Like I know, like especially just like me at school. I remember myself back in elementary school, and like I was too scared to talk to boys, and like girls didn't like that stuff, so I was kind of just like, okay, I'll just like
be by myself.
I'll just sit by myself.
Yeah, no. You'll see like her bag later, the bag that she carries like has patches from like certain stuff, and she has like the Zelda heart patch on there. So yeah, there's like those little like homages. Dana Terrace, who's the creator of the show, is like a really big Zelda fan too. Luz is awesome. I love Luz a lot.
Absolutely.
She's great. And I think she actually gets better as the show goes on, as you'll see as we keep going through these episodes. Because I think very initially it's just like she's like the weirdo kid, and like I think that message was definitely pushed a lot in this episode. But like as it continues on, it kind of brings it down a little bit, and she comes off more as like quirky, but is still just like very fun and kind and lovable.
Which I think kind of goes along with like as she finds herself feeling more comfortable in this world, like once kids kind of find, or just people in general, not even necessarily kids, but like they find like a group that they kind of feel like they belong in, like they stop like thinking like, oh, like why am I so weird? Like once they kind of come into your own, like you're just like, oh, I get it. So it kind of makes sense that as it goes on and as she feels more comfortable, like she realizes like, oh, I don't have to like label myself as like the weird person or the weird kid or anything like that.
Definitely. Ida the owl lady.
How old is she supposed to be? Is it like Warlock years where like Albus Dumbledore is like hundreds of years old but kind of just looks like an 80-year-old man?
That's an interesting question that we'll get into later as we go through some episodes.
Because like it's like kind of alluded to, like she even said in this episode, like, oh, that's what happens when you get old, and like part of it's the animation. It's always hard to tell, like not to like keep going back to like other shows, but like Avatar, like Zuko's like 16, 17.
I think Azula's like 14 or something like
same
that.
thing like that, and like,
and you're like, huh? Like he doesn't look that out. And I feel that's also just like with anime specifically is like you could be looking at like a
40-year-old or a 12-year-old and you don't know.
Like it could work in different ways where you're like, oh, this person looks like 12, and then they're like, I'm 18, and I'm just like, no, but you look like a 12-year-old. You know, or the vice versa of that. But Ida's age is an interesting topic that we'll discuss later.
Okay. You said it earlier, but like she like very much that fun aunt kind of vibe.
Like going back to Gravity Falls, like a Grunkle Stan kind of a thing.
Yes. I think right now she may be my favorite, just
out of the three characters
we met very briefly in a 20-minute span. But I think part of that's just me being excited about just like seeing what she'll be able to do and what she already can do, and I'd like to see where her powers go.
We saw a little bit of her magic very briefly, where she showed like King's story, but then also with the fireball thing with the
portals and kind of shifting in and out of realms.
She says she's the most powerful witch on the Boiling Isles, which is interesting because like you look at her and you don't take her very seriously because she's very like overly confident about her abilities.
But I mean,
she can handle herself.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ida's great. I like Ida a lot. I also like kind of at the end and it will be elaborated on more, but like you kind of start to see like Ida starting to care about Luz. And you know, Ida's kind of a person who's only cared about herself for a lot of her life. So kind of like having the introduction to Luz in her life, you'll start to see like how that kind of brings out the best in her and stuff. And you kind of see it at the end when she's like, "No, you go. I'll save you," and sends her off on the staff, kind of a thing. But yeah, no, I like Ida a lot. King of Demons.
Adorable.
He's super cute.
Just a very good comic relief. Like, in a show that, like, doesn't necessarily need it, but, like, it's still...
Yeah, no, there's already, like, a bunch of comic relief.
And it still just, like, fits
And it's like,
in.
no, we need more.
Like, and it's just, he's just so cute. And even just, like, him, like, I feel like people already do this with, like, animal companions and stuff like that in any TV show, but just, like, I think of, like, our cat, Suki, just, like, the idea that he's just, like, oh, I have, like, this crown that gives me so much power, and then, like, you know, they get it, and she's like, no, it's, like, that's our cat's, like, meowing at us for dinner. It's just, like, hey, feed me! And it's just, like, you couldn't do anything without me.
But there are
Like-
also those moments at the end where they're like, "Hey, your bed looks comfy. Can I get up there?"
Like, sometimes, like, we'll go down, our cats will give us the cold shoulder, and I'm like, okay,
They, like,
whatever.
run from us. They're like, no pets now.
God forbid we close the door, and then it's like, you locked me out? Excuse me?
What are you doing in there? Yep. He's very cat. He's very interesting because he exhibits different behaviors from like dogs and cats.
Yeah.
And you'll obviously see it more as it goes on, but I think it's interesting like what mannerisms and behaviors they are able to put in his character. But yeah, King's super cute.
I'm assuming we probably get more backstory on him at some point. I'm not sure.
Maybe.
I
I don't
find
know.
his character design very interesting. It reminds me of like Cubone or Marowak, and like because of those.
Dana's a very big Pokemon fan. She has a Pokemon team set for every character in the show so far, and she's like been slowly giving out the teams. I think Luz is out, and I feel like there's another one. Maybe not. Maybe it's just Luz. But Luz has like her official Pokemon team out, drawn by Dana.
Very cute.
But yeah, so
Let me guess who has Nocturnal or like what's the owl Pokemon?
Decidueye?
No.
Oh, I thought
It looks like an owl.
Noctowl.
Noctowl.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Decidueye, who's like the archer Pokemon who evolves from Rowlet.
Oh, I forgot about
Because
that.
Luz has one of those, plus a Marowak. And then some other ones. I think she has an Umbreon too. I'd have to go back and look.
Love Umbreon.
But yeah.
Love the Eevee evolutions.
But yeah, so I'm eagerly awaiting the rest of the Pokemon teams that Dana came up with. Continue.
I would love if King's was just all Marowaks.
Just all Cubones.
Marowaks, just.
Warden Wrath.
I loved his character design.
The show has some of the best character designs I have seen.
Like, just, it was like a mixture of like the Plague Doctor masks and everything like that, the weird Dr. Lab coat. And then even when you see his mask, like, he has an interesting face underneath. Like, I think of...
Like, it wasn't what you were expecting.
No, not at all.
Not monster
and not in
face.
this disappointing way, like Twilight Princess and Xant, where his really cool helmet comes off and it's a weird face.
Weird,
like, it came off and I'm like, that's still a good-looking villain monster character.
Yeah.
I'm down with that.
100%. Warden Wrath, it was a cool villain for this episode. What do you think about like the Boiling Isles, just like in general? Just I know you only saw.
I know. I'm like, I feel like I don't.
But
I feel like I don't know enough about it to make comments. I'm excited. While I don't know like much about it, what they've shown is very clearly developed. Like, so I don't have that fear of like, oh, like we kind of just breezed over this place and back to the characters. Like, I can just tell like it is very well written. Both the environment and the characters are woven together in a very cohesive way.
the inspiration that Dana Terrace got was from an artist called Hieronymus Bosch.
Okay.
And he drew some interesting stuff, to say the least. And I'll show you a couple, but that like served as like the inspiration kind of, because she was looking through like an art book, and she was like, oh, this would like make a great setting for a
show,
a TV show, a Disney show, you know, for the kiddos.
Oh God.
So like,
oh wow,
and I'll like try and put stuff.
it's all like very surrealist.
It's very like a demonic and scary looking. You know, I mean, you got like people being like boiled in lava, and houses with people faces, and like people being skinned alive and stuff like that. And she was
fun.
She's like, this is a great setting, and I think it is, because I think it's one of the most creative settings that I've seen from an animated show in like a very long time, where it's like very clear cut. Like, okay, here's this world. You know, here's how it functions, here are the rules and physics and laws of, like, how this world operates and stuff like that. And, you know, obviously you'll see more as we go on. Specifically, there's one location that I thought was, like, very creative in terms of, like, incorporating the world and land, but also, like, having a reason, like, a scientific, applicable reason for it. And I'll point that out to you when we get to that episode. But yeah, Boiling Isles is definitely a very interesting and cool place.
It looks, just from what I've seen, it looks very original. Like, especially just like the people that exist there. Like, I already
just all the
asked
creatures?
you. I'm just like, are humans here? Like, how common are they? Is it like a Skyrim where there's like a whole mix of races?
I mean,
and
there's
things like that.
I mean, there's definitely you have like the more human-looking ones.
Yeah.
But then you have like the demons and like the weird creatures, and then just like, you know, everything in between. So you definitely like have like a very wide range of you know, people just in the background. I think that's like really cool that they do that, because I mean, they could have just been like, all right, yeah, we're all just gonna have just human-looking, you know, background characters, but they're just like, no, we're gonna go all out. We're gonna make, you know, demons and creatures and all this weird stuff. And like what, like I was saying before about like with the stands, like, I mean, it's just background details that like most people won't notice or pay attention to, but like when you do notice them, you're like, oh man, that's like so fun and clever and just stuff like that. So it's like I feel like they're going the extra mile when it comes to stuff like that. So
Little Easter eggs.
yeah, but yeah, so did you like this first episode?
I did like this first episode.
Good, awesome. Next one is Witches Before Wizards, so we'll do that next.